Hello and welcome to Money Control. I'm at India Energy Week, and who better to talk to at India Energy Week than the Minister of Oil and Gas, Mr. Hardeep Puri, who has really very graciously agreed to talk to us. So, welcome to Money Control, and very happy to be here at India Energy Week. There is a lot of buzz happening here. How has your this a lot has went into the planning of this event? Looking at the turnout, what has been the most exciting part about this week?
No, two things. One is that for an event like this, and that too also a first time staging of an event like this, a lot of planning, thought, conceptualization has to go into it. And you can see the result. You have ministers from 35 countries, you have 50 countries represented here. There's no big oil and gas company in the world whose CEO is either not here or somebody very senior from them is here. 6,500 exhibitors. But I don't think that's because of only good planning or logistical efforts. It's also because what India is today. India is the place where the energy story is unfolding with a dynamism which is unprecedented. What do I mean by that? One is increase in demand.
Right.
Our demand today is 3 times the global growth. We are consuming 5 million barrels of oil in a day. 60 million people go to the petrol pump every day. If your economy continues to grow at 6.5–7%, and I don't see why it wouldn't, your requirement of energy in the coming months and years will increase. In fact, estimates have said that between 2020 and 2040, whatever growth takes place in the world overall, 25% of the demand will come from India. And now you have studies which say by 2040 or thereabouts, India should be a $26–27 trillion economy. So I submit to you, if at the $3.5 trillion GDP, you are consuming this amount of energy, what if your GDP goes up 8 times or 9 times? $26–27 trillion. So there will be demand. But this is not only a country where the consumption is growing, it's also a country which is making strenuous, comprehensive and bold efforts to increase the area under exploration and production. The Honorable Prime Minister said yesterday that out of the 3.5 million square kilometers of sedimentary basin, we have released 1 million, which used to be a no-go area for exploration and production. Our story on the biofuels transition, in 2014 we had only 1.4%. Today we were able to achieve 10% 5 months ahead of the schedule. Our target for 20% blending of ethanol, which was set at 2030, we brought it to 2025. We were supposed to release E20 blended fuel, 20% as a pilot project in April. Yesterday the Prime Minister did. So India is a place where these things are happening. Therefore, I'm not surprised that you've got this fantastic turnout. And I don't have to say it. I mean, people who have come to see this exhibition say, my God, there are people who've been to other exhibitions around the world. It's truly caught people's fancy and all the stalls, etc. So you have noise, you have buzz, and all I can tell you, this will be an annual event.
It's very exciting to hear this level of enthusiasm from you and other participants. So you very rightly said that India's demand is going to be a very strong one in the world. In fact, IEA has also said that India would have the strongest demand going ahead. Now, the Prime Minister spoke about increasing exploration and production, which you also mentioned. This is something that has been a sore spot for India for a very long time. What are we doing differently?
I don't think it has been a sore spot, because government policy has to be decided by the government. I think there has been neglect. And I think before the BJP government, especially Mr. Modi's government came in, I mean, if you look at the previous 10 years, they didn't do anything. So you have a situation where from 1947 to, let's say, 2014, you've got exploration and production of the available sedimentary basin of 6% or so. Why? Well, there was a point of view which has been articulated to me shamelessly, where people say, why do you want to do ENP? You can very easily import it. Now, I have a different point of view. I would say, yes, if prices are very low, import is an option, But energy is something you cannot be, it's a strategic requirement. Supposing somebody cuts off your energy supplies, what will you do? That's why any country which is a large consumer also needs a strategic reserve. That's why we are also talking in terms of increasing the size of our strategic reserve. You remember when the crisis situation was on us, you know what we did? As consuming countries, we put some stock into the market. We only released, I think, 1.5 million barrels, but the US and other countries released larger amounts. The point I'm making to you is energy, and I don't want to sound like a cliche, energy is literally the lifeline of an economy. If you're a mature country as India is, we are slowly but surely ensuring that the transition takes place. You're stepping on compressed biogas, green hydrogen, second and third generation biofuels. Now, what is the value of an event like this? This is the first event, but we'll make it an annual event. That everybody knows it's on their calendar, and next year Goa, people will come, and instead of planning, let's say, a visit to X going to Y, you can go to India Energy Week and meet all of them under one roof. Plus, it's an interesting place. Were you there at the cultural show last night at the dinner?
I saw briefly. It was a very well put up show.
I'm telling you, I've traveled all over the world. It was quite an extravaganza, fantastic. So visitors come, they're exposed to Indian culture, they imbibe a little bit of the place. And I think Indian cities set themselves up as fantastic venues.
Sir, very rightly said that, we need to increase the ENP factor because imports cannot be the way to go. One aspect where your government moved very swiftly was buying the discounted Russian crude, when it was available. Now, what I wanted to understand is gas prices have softened. Is it a good time to get into long-term contracts to procure more gas globally, or what is your stand on that?
I'm the guy who always puts in the counter narrative. When you say prices are going to go down, prices will come up also. Prices are going up, prices will come down also. You have to deal with particular phases. I mean, at the height of the pandemic, the price of oil went down to $19.56. And then when economic recovery took place, it went up to 120. It's 82 today. Gas prices, how long will gas prices remain high? I mean, if you listen to the producers, they would say, they're going to be high till till eternity. I am not so sure. Yes, prices are high. There are issues of access. We need to work in supplies. But do you need to enter into really long-term agreements? Or are you better off watching the wasting? Or maybe, as you should, I think, have a long-term agreement linked to the price of oil. So if the oil price is 80, 82, you're doing something, but you have a long-term agreement, and then you can have a safeguard in there.
Is there a plan in place for that?
We have arrangements. We have, I think we already have arrangements with Qatar, US, etc. We are looking at all these things very carefully. And so far we've got our decisions right.
Absolutely. So you've been interacting with the energy ministers from across the world who have come here. You also had a meeting with OPEC representatives today. What are the discussions looking like? I mean, because everybody is looking at the crude prices movement and trying to figure out which way it's going. I mean, it's become a crystal ball gazing right now. But what have your interactions been so far?
I'm not into all this crystal ball gazing. I have a very simple, somewhat simplistic, if I may say so, approach. In whose interest is it for oil prices to go sky high? Certainly, it cannot be in the interest of the producing countries. Because if you peg the oil at a point where it's exceptionally high, then you are fueling the inflationary tendencies. And if you fuel those inflationary tendencies after the stimulus packages, etc., when high oil prices plus high interest rates, what will happen? Even if the recession is not to take place, it will take place. So I think sensible people sit down and say, all right, you want a good return on your oil, but you don't want a good return in such a way that an unintended consequences is the acceleration to green energy becomes that much faster. And that is what has happened. We have never told any producing country that please sell reasonable. We don't do that. It's your sovereign asset. It's your sovereign right to sell. But there is a consequence, both intended and unintended, of all your action. Unintended consequence could be that a global economy, which is already, I spoke yesterday about deceleration, third time in decade, down to 1.7%. And if the price goes high, you'll go into recession. And the capital R word is not good for anyone. It's not good for economic recovery, for developing countries, etc. So I think that I don't think it's anybody's interest to allow that to happen. In fact, whatever they say about, not enough investment all that is good. But we have to look at it in terms of navigating through the real world.
So one interesting thing that happened in the budget is a 35,000 crore that has been earmarked for your ministry towards green energy and transition. There's a lot of curiosity on what is going to happen on this, and in fact, we asked the FM, and she said that it is more towards petroleum and petroleum products, and that the ministry will plan it. Give us some sense on what is the.
Some of it is there already. Some of it is there. Out of that 35,000, I think 5,000 is earmarked for strategic petroleum reserve, to augment that. But the other one, I think, yes, finance minister is right. It is capital expenditure. It is also, in a way, infusion into their oil companies, and it is also green energy transition. Because they have been taking a beating on so many things. But it's at the end of the day, it's a kind of money availability, but it is capital expenditure and green energy transition.
So, sir, is it right that the 30,000 that you're talking about, is it the compensation that is being given to the OMCs?
I wouldn't call it as a compensation. It's because what happens that compensation on gas, they lost 28,000. We gave them 22,000. This is more capital expenditure and infusion. I mean, look, if you're running a business, like you're wearing this with Indian Oil there. Now, on a good day, Indian Oil makes a lot of money. Then when these prices had to be held, they've had under recoveries on both petrol and diesel. Petrol, there is no under recovery now. They're all right. Diesel, they're still under recovery. But, money goes into one pocket for capital expenditure, and they are doing a lot of green transition. I mean, they're moving into green hydrogen in a big way. Whether they spend it here or there, it doesn't matter.
So just for my clarification, sir, just for a better understanding, the 30,000 that was announced earlier to be given to the OMCs, is it the same amount?
No. This is a separate budgetary provision. But don't look at that. Also look at 19,700 in the cabinet decision on what's it called, on catalyzer production for PLI. But also look at other things in the budget. There is a 5% mandatory for compressed biogas blending. So there's a lot of things. It is a green budget.
So one question that has been on everybody's mind, you were the force behind Air India divestment, and BPCL was something.
BPCL is not on the table. After our last experience, let me tell you very frankly, BPCL has rendered human service. BPCL, IOCL, HPCL. Just imagine if we had this. I mean, we have 77,000 pumps in the country. Out of it, 22,000 in the private sector. Private sector pumps were not selling at the cushion rate. So no, nobody's talking about BPCL anymore.
So in your ministry, sir, are there any other divestment opportunities that you would
Not
be
that
exploring?
it's a very small ministry. It's a very small ministry. I mean, it is
Very strategic one.
a very strategic one. So just now we are concentrating on green energy transition.
So one final question: you have been a strong, supporter of the OMCs, and you've been talking about the losses they have made, and you have said time and again that we have to take care of them. Now, with
The OMCs go and raise money from the market. They are answerable to their taxpayers. You know why they're doing well? Now the profits are coming in again because they signal to the market is that the government, when a minister speaks, the government is backing them up. So if they took a certain decision in order to, for the consumer, as good corporate citizen, we must not let them sink after that. So we are doing what we have to support them.
so they are still, like you said, under recoveries in diesel.
In diesel.
Is there a possibility of any further support?
No, we have already, look, if prices remain like this, even diesel under recoveries will stop. And then it doesn't matter. You make money out of one pocket and the other one is a little this thing. It doesn't matter. I'll tell you something. I meet them every day. And they whine, and rightly so. But after a while, they also understand that I have a job to do. I can't keep going to the finance minister. Look at the increase in the capital expenditure budget overall. I mean, 10,000 crores is not 10 lakh crores. You know what that means? 33.3% increase in the capital expenditure. Oil companies gain from that also. I mean, cement will gain, steel will gain, your transporters will gain, oil companies will gain. India, the consumption is way beyond pre-COVID level. So, this is a game, and if you're a good corporate citizen, well, you have a not so good day, and then you make a whopping profit the next day. So that's the spirit in which it's done.
Thank you, Mr. Puri. Very insightful and very candid indeed. Thank you so much for giving us time.